Welcome to the Pursuit of Truth, where we explore the ancient paths of wisdom and righteousness.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Words. I'm your host, Jamerson, or Coach J. And in the last episode, we explored Martha, the servant archetype. Martha taught us that faithful service has an honored place in the kingdom of righteousness. Today, we meet her sister, who is not Mary, the mother of Christ, but Mary of Bethany. When most people think of Mary, they remember two things. She sat at Jesus' feet, and she poured perfume on his feet. The more I studied Mary's life, the more I realized something. Those moments weren't random. They reveal a kingdom responsibility that often goes unnoticed. Mary was an attendant. Now, let me explain. Not an attendant in the sense of waiting tables, not someone of lesser importance. An attendant is someone who remains close to the king. Someone who notices. Someone who listens. Someone who is present. Someone who recognizes the king's need before everyone else does. Throughout scripture, Mary consistently attends to Christ's presence. And perhaps that's one of the most overlooked responsibilities in the kingdom. One of the most fascinating things about Mary is that every major scene involving her places her at the feet of Jesus. The first time we meet her, Jesus has entered the home she has shared with Martha and Lazarus. Martha begins preparing the meals. Mary sits. To many people, sitting looked unproductive. To Jesus, it was preparation. In the first century, sitting at a rabbi's feet was the posture of a disciple. Mary wasn't avoiding responsibility. She was attending to the teacher. She understood something many of us forget. Before you can faithfully represent the king, you must first know the king. Jesus says, Mary has chosen the better portion, and it will not be taken away from her. Notice that Jesus doesn't criticize Martha's service. He protects Mary's attention. Why? Because servants need direction, and direction is received by those who remain close enough to hear the king's voice. The next time we encounter Mary, everything has changed. Her brother Lazarus has died. Grief has entered the home. When Jesus arrives, Mary runs to him. Once again, she falls at his feet. The same place where she learned becomes where she mourns. She says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Mary teaches us something remarkable. Attendants don't only stay close during celebration, they remain close during suffering. She doesn't hide her pain. She brings it into the presence of Christ. Perhaps attending to the king also means trusting him with the parts of our hearts we don't fully understand. Then comes one of the most powerful moments in the Gospels. Jesus is only days away from the cross. The disciples still struggle to understand what's coming. Yet Mary enters carrying an alabaster jar filled with expensive perfume, nearly a year's wages. She pours it over Jesus' feet. The fragrance fills the house. Immediately, criticism begins. What a waste. But Jesus says, leave her alone. She has kept it for the day of my burial. Think about that. Mary recognized a sacred moment that almost everyone else missed. The attendant wasn't waiting for instruction. She had spent so much time near the king that she recognized what the moment required. That wasn't coincidence, that was closeness. We often think kingdom advances only through public platforms, the loudest voice, the loudest audience, the biggest ministry. But married life suggests something different. The kingdom also advances through people who simply stay near Jesus. People who notice what others overlook. People who recognize holy moments. People who value God's presence more than public recognition. Every organization has people who make things happen. But the healthiest organization also has people who protect what matters most. The kingdom is no different. Some believers are builders, some are teachers, some are servants, and some are attendants. They remind the rest of us that no amount of activity can replace intimacy with Christ. Maybe the greatest danger isn't becoming too busy. Maybe it's becoming so busy that we stop paying attention to the King. Mary invites us back to listening, back to stillness, back to recognizing God's voice before rushing into our own plans. Ask yourself, am I close enough to Jesus to recognize what he's doing before someone has to explain it to me? The attendant isn't defined by status. The attendant is defined by proximity. Mary teaches us that the greatest privilege in the kingdom isn't simply working for the King. It's remaining near him. May we become people who don't rush past holy moments. People who cultivate attentive hearts. People who know the voice of Christ because we spent time in his presence. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Kingdom Living. Until next time, remember this. Every kingdom responsibility begins with one decision: to remain close enough to the King that his presence shapes every step we take. And until next time, I'll see you.